So the big picture for this lesson is rational function graphs. Here's the parent function, the reciprocal function, f of x equals 1 over x. And you can see here, you can see that it has two branches or curves. And the reason being is because the variable x, the input variable, is in the denominator. So what happens is when you input 0, you get 1 divided by 0, which is undefined, as you can see here. So that makes a vertical asymptote. There is no valid input-output pair. So as the values get really close to the asymptote, you can see what happens. There's quite an increase on the positive side or a decrease on the negative side. And there's also a horizontal asymptote for the same reason. And so your domain is x is an element of the real number set such that x is not equal to 0, and the same idea for the y is not equal to 0. So basically every value except for the value of the horizontal asymptote or vertical asymptote, depending if you're talking about range or domain. So that's the general shape of rational function graphs. Now I want to go into more detail on vertical stretches and shrinks. Okay, this is an example in the lesson as well. And the g of x here is 3 divided by x, which is 3 times f of x, or vertical stretch by 3. Well, how can you tell by looking at the graph? When you're 1 to the right of the vertical asymptote, normally you would be here. But notice that instead of 1 up from the horizontal asymptote, you're actually 3 up, way up here. That 3 is the vertical stretch. And that's how you can identify a vertical stretch, by looking at the rational function. Go 1 away from the vertical asymptote, and then look at the distance from the horizontal asymptote to the function. Same applies on this side. Should be 1 down, but it's actually 3 down. So that's the other evidence of a vertical stretch. So you're going to be graphing these rational functions and interpreting the asymptotes, domain, and range. And most of it is using translations, which I think is pretty straightforward. So that's the big picture.